wrote the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's a natural healer with homeopathy. Now, other than Miss Abby Marks Bill.
Thank you for having me. Very happy to be here with you, Daniel. Thank you.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Abby. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. I knew you were going to ask, so I'm ready. So, I am a nationally certified classical homeopath, and I help people heal naturally with homeopathic medicine. I have this mission in the world, which is to enlighten people about homeopathy, to demystify it so that they feel like they can actually try it and to really get the benefit of homeopathic medicine for themselves. So I started with this long time ago when my son was 9 months old. He had repeated ear infections, and it was, one of those things as a new mom, I didn't know what to do. So we just kept giving him the antibiotics, and every time he would take them, he would feel better for a little bit, and then it would come back, and they'd say that he had another ear infection. And after about 6 or 7 doses of antibiotics, they wanted to put tubes in his ears. They do that. They call them grommets or tubes. And I just kept thinking there's got to be a better way. So I ended up finding a homeopath, which I had never heard of before. It was actually my own mother who had suggested that I go see one. And so this was at a time when the internet was not available. So we had Yellow Pages, which is a print book where people would, look for like a telephone book, and found a homeopath and brought my son. At the time, he was maybe 17 months old, to this homeopath and spent 90 minutes with him and asked all kinds of questions about him, including his ear infection. Gave him these really wonderful tasting little white pellets that he happily took. And after that, he didn't have any other ear infections. And I was like, that's an interesting thing, isn't that? So that was the beginning of
Interesting.
my journey for sure. Yeah.
Interesting indeed, Miss Abby, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. What exactly is homeopathic medicine and how does it differ from conventional medicine?
Homeopathic medicine is energy medicine, where regular medicine or conventional medicine is either a chemical or a substance where that you put into your body that has to be digested, and it has to go through the liver. And so it's very different. This is the energy of a substance instead of the physical substance. So when someone takes a remedy, it just has to be absorbed in the mucosal linings, and it goes into the body. In its Ideally, it's supposed to match the energy of the person and the symptoms that they are currently experiencing. They're all very pleasant tasting. I've got thousands of remedies in my office, and they all taste the same, but it's about the energy of the substance that's been highly diluted that makes it special. I can explain more if you'd like on how remedies are made, but I don't want to overdo if you don't think it's necessary.
Can you explain the principle of cures like in homeopathy and how it is applied in practice?
Yeah, like cures like is what the founder of homeopathy, Samuel Hahnemann, created. It was kind of on I'll say almost an accidental finding, but he found that if somebody had symptoms that were troublesome, and he started this when people had scarlet fever a long time ago, when people had a high fever and they had a slapped red face look and they were lethargic and they had scarlet fever, that by giving them a substance in nature that would give a healthy person a similar set of symptoms, that it could be incredibly curable by, we call it like cures like. If this is what the sick person is, and this is what is the natural substance that creates that, you put it together, and then the energy of that substance will help that person heal. So that's why they call it like cures like.
How are homeopathic remedies made and what makes them unique compared to other treatments?
They're very unique, very unique. So let's say for example, I always use an example that most people understand. is something called coffee. People drink coffee a lot. And
Yes.
if they drink too much coffee, too much caffeine, they get symptoms like insomnia or diarrhea, or their stomach hurts, or they have a hard time with heart palpitations. And so, what we look at is how do we make a remedy that can help with something like that? So, by using the substance coffee, we can do that. So, you take, let's say, 30 cups of water in front of you, they're filled 99% full, and you take one dropper full of a cup of coffee and you put it in that first cup. And what you do is you've diluted it now down to 1 out of 100, and then you shake it really hard. You pound it really hard for 10 times, and that's what they call a 1 centesimal, 1 C. And so we don't touch the coffee anymore. We've already diluted it 1 to 100 times, 1 to 99. Now we take one drop of that, we put it in the next cup. We pound it 10 more times, that becomes a 2 centesimal. And we now take a drop from that 2 centesimal, put it to the next cup. We pound it 10 times, that's a 3 centesimal. And most of the remedies that are available on the market for general consumption are usually 6 centesimal, 12 centesimal, or 30 centesimal. So they keep going in the dilution stage. So it is the essence of coffee that is used to then, let's say we want to do a 30C potency. After you do it 30 times, there's no substance left of the coffee, but it's the energy or the memory of the water that is what is then dropped onto little sugar pellets that are put under the tongue. And so that's why all the remedies here taste the same, but there's no physical substance in it, but it's the energy of the substance. That's why it's energy medicine. I hope that made sense.
Makes sense, Miss Abby. And what are some common conditions that homeopathy is used to treat effectively?
I would say any symptom that a person has. If you have symptoms, homeopathy can do something about it. If you come to me and say I have high blood pressure, and I say to you, so what are your symptoms? And they say I don't have any. The doctor just says I have high blood pressure. It's kind of hard to treat when you don't have a symptom. But if somebody says I have high blood pressure and I have headaches, pounding, throbbing headaches, I have heart palpitations, and there's other kinds of symptoms that go along with it, we can then work with that kind of an issue. So I work with behavioral issues with kids and adults, with all kinds of urinary tract infections or irritable bowel syndrome, or pretty much anything that someone has a symptom of. And most of the time, I work with people chronically where they've had it for a while, like migraines and UTIs and such. But I'm very skilled at helping with acute situations. And so that's why it's book 101. This is the book that I helped to create, called Homeopathy, getting started with homeopathy. And it's really meant to enlighten the masses that homeopathy exists, and it's really possible and pretty simple to treat oneself at home. So I love doing it.
What role does the concept of vital force or energy play in homeopathic treatment?
Well, our vital force is basically in other modalities, they call it chi, your energy. If you don't have chi, you don't have your vital force, then you're dead, basically. And so homeopathy tries to energize or invigorate one's vital force, which is their chi or their energy, so that it can be stimulated to heal itself. So, in effect, the remedy doesn't heal a person or make a situation better. It's the energy of the substance matching to the person's energy of their body that can make that healing happen.
Are there specific studies that support the effectiveness of homeopathic medicine, Miss Abby?
There are plenty of studies. You can also, I would say the best place to go is Homeopathy Research Institute, which is out of the UK right now. They're doing all kinds of wonderful studies to help show that homeopathy is effective and how it can be effective. They talk about nanoparticles, they talk about the memory of water, and they're spending a lot of money and time in conferences and getting papers and getting a lot of research. So it's called HRI, or Homeopathy Research Institute.
Can homeopathy be used alongside conventional medical treatments, or it just typically stand alone?
Oh, it has to go along with conventional medicine because so many people are on it that if that was true, I wouldn't have many clients. So many people come and they're already on their medicines, and it's okay. We understand that. And the idea is that we try to help, bolster up a person's health so that they're not needing perhaps as much of their medicine, but that's not my job. It's they can talk to their own physician about that. But certainly it does match. It does very well. You can do conventional medicine and homeopathy. It pretty much goes with anything, homeopathy. So
Miss Abby, how do you respond to skepticism or criticism about homeopathy efficacy?
typically people don't tell me that. But if they did, I would say I can understand. This is not how you were brought up. This is not the jargon, the understanding that you have. But if you really tried it, and if we could give somebody a win with homeopathy, they'll go, huh, I get it now. Because it's not something that you can just imagine. You have to experience it yourself. So, for example, there's this great remedy here. This is the one that I like, called Arnica montana. I call it the
Okay.
gateway drug into homeopathy. It's a remedy called Arnica montana 30C. It's made from leopard's bane. It's a beautiful flower, and when it is made, it is apparently useful in the way that it was. They call it approving, where people took the remedy and then they got certain symptoms. It works for any kind of overexertion, or it could be if you were injured. I took it when I had a C-section with my son, my second son, and it helped tremendously with the healing. Yes, I was sore, but I didn't have to take any painkillers because the arnica worked well. And a lot of plastic surgeons are using arnica too to help with the healing process after surgery. And so this is like a fabulous remedy to keep in one's pocket. It's great for sports injuries. If you fall down, you hit your head, car accident. I mean, it's got multiple uses, and it really does help a person feel better and increase the healing process.
Well, Miss Abby, as a natural healer with homeopathy, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
My short-term goals are to really just get people to understand what homeopathy is, or to at least say the word homeopathy. Some people say it's homopathy, and it's homeopathy. But really, it's about educating people to use homeopathy at home. And that's where, the homeopathy primer book that took me about 6 years to create is at me and 35 other contributors, I should say. It wasn't just me, but I was the lead author of it, where people can learn how to use this book to self prescribe or to use at home for themselves, along with, this is a remedy kit that we suggest people get also. So these are the remedies. Then you have the book. You've got a wonderful match to be able to self prescribe and to try some things at home. So that's my long term goal.
Good luck to your goal, Miss Abby, and looking forward for more success.
Thank
And what
you.
would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to try a homeopathy?
So it really depends on how deep they want to try. But I would say, if you just want to try, get a tube of this arnica, have it with you, because inevitably at some point in the next few months, something's going to happen with you, a family member, a child who falls down and bruises their knee, has a surgery, you had a tooth pulled, anything that where there's soreness or whatever, and you just take some under your tongue and try it and see if it's helping you. And then if you get really serious, you get a kit, you get a book, and you start studying. So that's kind of how I tell people, just get a remedy and try it.
Yes, try it, people. Try it.
Thank you.
And thank you for that advice, Miss Abby. And can you please recommend a book that influenced your journey or books that influenced your journey?
Books are the things that homeopaths have a lot of. So I'm going to say the book that really brought me into it. So besides that appointment that I had with the homeopath, this is a book that was the one that I first started learning. So my son was, 17 months old. I got into homeopathy, It's called Homeopathic Medicine for Children and Infants, and it was kind of the first self prescribing guide that I used. And it was amazing how helpful this was when my son had other issues, and we were able to deal with my other son as well using some of the things that were in here. And so then I saw how accessible this was. And so this was a great book by Dana Ullman. It's still available. It's online. It's been around for a while, but it's a great book. So yeah, that's definitely a keeper right there.
Yes, thank you for
Mm.
that recommendation, Miss Abby. And I hope people are watching or listening right now. Please do read it, and for sure you will be empowered. Can homeopathy, or yes, homeopathy, be used for mental health issues like anxiety or depression?
Oh my, yes, yes. But these are the things that typically a professional homeopath would deal with. So the book that I am talking about is really for just acute prescribing, like coughs, colds, flus, bee stings, bumps and bruises, things like that. Whereas yeah, so I'm just wondering where you're headed to. You could pull up homeopathyprimer.com. That would help a little bit. But also for chronic conditions, which are more the mental emotional things, you definitely want the guide of a professional homeopath because they use different remedies. They use higher potency remedies. And it's also more complicated than just like I got stung by a bee or I have a burn. And so the homeopathy primer book that you'll see there at the bottom is just for acute situations. But mental and emotional, I deal with that all the time. And people are on medications when they come to me, and we still deal with it. And we can do it pretty successfully.
Definitely.
Mm.
And Miss Abby, can you share a success story where homeopathy made a significant difference for a patient?
Uh, I mean, if you talk about, I'm just trying to focus on acute situations. So we were on vacation, and my brother-in-law was making hot tea in a teapot, and we had never had that teapot before. It was in an Airbnb, and there was a metal top to it. So when he boiled it and it whistled and it was time to pick it up, he just grabbed it without any mitt at all. And so his hand immediately was burned. It was like, ah, really horrible pain. And so I was there, had my kit with me, and I gave him a remedy that he took every 15 minutes for at least an hour. And then it was like maybe 30 minutes later, and again 30 minutes later, and he put some ice on it. And within about 2 hours or so, because it was a pretty bad burn, he was like, you know what, it doesn't really hurt anymore. I think I'm okay. And by the next morning, you looked at his hand, and it was like nothing happened. There was nothing there. There was no blister, there was no burn marks, nothing. And that to me was amazing, and he was thrilled too. And so things like that happen frequently in homeopathy, where you just like have these amazing kinds of healing moments. Like my son with his ear infections, he had a remedy that he didn't have another ear infection. It was like, really? That's amazing. So we get that a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Let's try it, people. What training or qualifications should someone look for in a reputable homeopath?
So where you're looking actually on my website at the bottom, there's two different stamps that are there. The first one on the left is the North American Society of Homeopaths. It's called NASH. So people could go onto that website to look for a homeopath, at least in the U.S. That is ranked and has a decent amount of training in order for them to be listed. And the other one is the one that is next to the Just One Drop movie icon. The next is called the CCH, which is a certified homeopath, where in order to get that, it's kind of like the CPA of accountants, meaning it's more prestigious to have the CCH, where there was like 500 classroom hours, 500 clinical hours, plus sample cases, and you were supervised, and then you had a test, and it was a lot. But having the CCH, I feel very happy to know that I'm qualified based on these requirements, and I feel like I've gone above and beyond. So you can also look on the CCH or the Certified Classical Homeopath website for homeopaths as well. Again, mostly in the United States.
How long does it typically take to see the results from homeopathic treatment?
Oh, if it's an acute situation, it could be as early as 5 to 10 minutes. If it's a chronic case, it could be a week or two or three. But for the most part, for acute situations like that burn, it was pretty instantaneous. Or I got stung by a bee for the first time. That was never fun. And I took a remedy every 15 minutes for an hour. And after that, it was a little sore, but no more stinging, no more swelling. So it's pretty quick when it's the right remedy. And if it's not the right remedy, then you just go to another one, because when you're dealing with 30C or lower in potency, which mostly people get in stores, it's really not a problem to try different remedies if the first one doesn't work.
How do you address myths or misconceptions about homeopathy that people often have, Miss Abby?
You mean like it's placebo?
Yes, as
People
they
say
said.
that.
Yes.
They say there's nothing in it, it's just placebo. And I say, well, if you ever saw a baby who was given a homeopathic remedy, or an animal, because animals can take, pets can take them, or even a plant, they don't have expectations. They don't have any knowing of what it is that they're being given. But if they heal, which they do, when it's the right remedy, then it has nothing to do with, it's just water or it's placebo, because it's not true. It's not. So I had a dog that fell off the couch when I was away, and it ended up being lame in the back two legs, and they were going to do surgery on her. And I was like, I know she was in a lot of pain. I was thinking, this can't happen. Why did this happen? And bottom line was, she was very upset that I was not here. My husband and I had gone away, and she was here with a babysitter that had a dog, and that other dog became the alpha dog in our house, which dogs do not like. And so when I realized that she was bereft or in grief, and gave her a remedy for the grief, within a week she was back to normal, no surgery. And so it's a beautiful thing when you can help a pet that has no expectation but just wants to get better. So that's what I tell them. Babies and pets and plants don't lie.
Definitely. And Ms. Abby, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in its fifth season as well, geography 101 in its fourth season, and law 101 and mental health 101 are my baby podcasts. Love letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its fourth season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Abby,
Right.
what advice would you give to someone curious about trying homeopathy for the first time?
I would say just try it. You could do some research, of course, learn as much as you can about it, and maybe get a book, get a beginner book, and read some about it. Talk to other people who may have tried homeopathic medicine. There's an interesting underground of people that have tried it but didn't even know, that it existed, or they don't think about talking about it to their friends. So I think it's something to really look into, and to become versed in. And you'll find that once you take it, and if it does work for your symptoms, you're never going to go back. You're going to go, I want more of this, just like I did.
Well, Miss Abby Marks Beale, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or any projects that you're doing right now?
So right now is really just promoting the homeopathy primer book. The homeopathyprimer.com is the website right now, where it's located. Probably in the next 6 months it'll be put on Amazon. But we're really hoping people will sign on to that, join our community. And then we're looking at starting a Patreon channel soon. So stay tuned.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Abby Marks Beale, because if you support her, for sure, more and more and more natural healing to come For sure, more and more empowering advocacy to come. So, Miss Abby, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Daniel. What a pleasure. Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.